Welcome to Torah Smash, the podcast for nerdy Jews, live in Austin, where our lives of Jewish learning collide with our love of nerd culture. In each episode, we discuss what we lovingly call a Torah Smash, which we have defined as a beautiful collision of one thing from the world of Judaism with another from nerd culture. I am Barak Malkin, and joining me today are
Ethan Lane Miller,
RDY,
and
Austin, Texas!
Woo! This is so fun. This episode is filmed in front of a live studio audience. So it has been wonderful to hang out with the two of you in person this weekend. For those of you that don't know, I've known RDY for about, 15 years, and Ethan for maybe 10. And they met each other when I brought them on for this podcast. And so this is the very first weekend that the three of us have ever been in the same zip code together, same time zone, same room. So I'm going to introduce our topic by talking about what we've done together as nerds. So this weekend, we have mostly played board games, both in-house and at a board game cafe. We ate some delicious food, and we had told some terribly wonderful jokes. When RDY and I got together in Chicago when we thought we were going to have a live show, we went to an escape room, stopped by a comic book shop, saw a superhero movie. So when we nerds got together, we did all of that. And each of those was in the space of one day. So what do you think is the Jewish smash for today's live episode?
Oh. So, okay.
Normally we're on a screen looking at each other. Now
I know,
have to,
it's hard to, Okay, what are the things that Jews do to get together, like Shabbat?
Oh, so for today's discussion, that was right on the money. We're going to compare the differences and similarities between what happens when nerds get together and when Jews get together.
Now,
so
are those separate categories?
Yeah, separate categories.
Okay.
I think there is some overlap, which is what we'll talk about. But so I usually start by asking about your familiarity with the topic on hand. So, do you guys get together with other Jews a lot?
Yes.
Yeah. I get paid to.
I think we all get paid to get together with Jews.
Yes.
All right, I've broken this down into a few topics, so we'll go through them and compare what each one is for the nerd side and what it is for the Jewish side. So the first thing I think about when getting together with either of these groups is food.
Yes.
So let's start. So foods for nerdy gatherings versus food for Jewish gatherings. What do we want to start with? Nerds or Jews?
Every Jewish holiday is they tried to kill us, they failed, let's eat.
Yeah.
So you took a different direction. I was thinking, okay, Jewish food gatherings have to have a lot of lactate available.
Okay.
Yeah, Shavuot, big mistake.
Yeah. What's Shavuot?
Shavuot for Jason.
Jason, for those that don't know, is my nerdy friend who's not Jewish.
So Shavuot is a holiday where we tend to eat dairy, cheeses, cheesecake, blintzes. Those tend to be the kind of things that are eaten at a Shavuot meal, because when the Israelites were gathered at Mount Sinai to receive Torah, which is what we're celebrating on Shavuot, they were fasting, but they were told not to eat any meat.
So someone decided getting a bunch of Jews together and giving them all dairy was a really good idea.
Oh yeah.
Well, we have a heckler. What'd you say?
They made a holiday.
They made a holiday for it. Yes. Well, you said that I have a friend who always makes fun of me and the other Jewish people in our group for not wanting spicy foods, which doesn't apply to the two of you, because this weekend you've been putting hot sauce on everything.
I like spicy.
And spicing everything up. Yeah.
I mean, we were at shout out to Emerald Tavern.
Yes, great.
Here in Austin.
We were there today.
Right here in Austin.
And we ran into Bentley, who is the security guard for our preschool.
But as we're going through Emerald Tavern, we saw there was nerd-themed hot sauce that RDY and I were very interested in.
It was too expensive to buy it without tasting it first, so we didn't get it.
I think another Jewish food thing that I think of is oneg, right?
Oneg doesn't mean juice and cookies. Oneg means joy.
And oneg is a meal that takes place after a function. That's kind of how I would describe it.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Are there other Jewish food things you think of when you think of Jewish foods?
Meal of condolence. So the meal that we would have after a funeral service, you have to, the people who are memorializing the person who's died eat immediately after the service, because eating is life. And very often what will be served are eggs as part of the course, which is a symbol of life and renewal and a reminder of the cycle of life, which is also what is eaten at a very popular Jewish meal called a Seder.
I was actually going to jump on in and talk about like there's some ritual aspect to food as well. Very intentionally ritualistic aspect to food. There's the Passover Seder where you are doing certain things in certain orders with food that's on your plate in front of you.
In fact, Seder means order.
It does. Thank you, Rabbi.
I speak Hebrew.
You do. But also thinking about where we are right now. We're recording this on a Saturday night, so we started with Havdalah, a ceremony marking the separation between Shabbat, the holy part of the week, and the mundane part of the week, where there's a Kiddush cup, that's a cup with wine on it. When we celebrate Shabbat...
In it.
Yeah, the cup is
Technically,
not...
it started on it, and it just fell into the shape.
Just
The liquid took the shape of the cup.
on the cup.
Yeah.
So
Like
we're
a
getting,
cat.
So we're getting the nerdy side
Like a
right
cat?
now.
Right, I guess if you poured a cat into the cup, the cat would also take the shape of the
Cats
cup.
are liquid, I'm
Yeah.
told.
That's true.
There's also challah on Shabbat.
Challah.
Challah.
I think
And
of getting, like, going to my bubby's house, right, when you go to, like, they never let you leave hungry, right, if you go to your
yeah.
grandparents' house.
My grandparents had specific candies that they all like these spearmint wedges, like gummy wedges that were super gross, and these caramel bullseyes that were awesome.
Yeah.
My grandma had a bowl of glass candy, which was so confusing to me as a kid. I had no idea. I get it's a look thing, but I just wanted candy every time I saw it, and I couldn't have it because I'd die.
I think of my Nana's magical chicken noodle soup, which feels very Jewish to me.
Jewish penicillin.
Yeah. What about the nerdy side? So what are some things you think of in terms of food with getting together with nerds?
I think it's just calling food by nerdy names, like like the menu at Emerald Tavern somewhat had today.
Yeah, right.
Or
There was
like-
some sort of dragon named drink.
Yeah, or like mead.
One of the
Second breakfast.
one of the drinks was one of the drinks at Emerald Tavern was the shiny mudkip.
Another one.
Wait, for RDY's sister Susan, who has definitely not for me, just for her. What is a sunny mudkip?
A shiny mudkip.
Shiny- yeah.
Mudkip is a Pokemon,
Oh, okay.
and shiny means it has a very special color to it. Pink. Thanks, Ariana. I think if we're thinking about rituals with nerds, I think about going to the movie theater to see a superhero movie and getting certain snacks.
Yeah, I had movie snacks listed here. Yeah. I remember a recent episode I mentioned that every time I go, I have to get popcorn and Bunch of Crunch. It's like my ritualistic movie snacks for me.
Do you remember Nerds Rope?
Nerds rope? Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, rope for nerds? No, the candy.
That used to be my go-to at the movie theater.
Yeah.
Now they have the Nerds gummy clusters.
What about like butterbeer?
Oh, that's fun. I
Never
like that.
had it.
Yeah, well, I've had butterbeer. They serve it like Universal Studios Hollywood and other places where there's a Harry Potter world, and it's basically butterscotch flavored drink. And I took a group of youth groupers there years and years ago, and they ordered it, and I took a sip, and that was all I needed for life. It was so sweet. It was like drinking melted carbonated sugar.
You know, I think of the trip my siblings and I took to Disney a few months ago, and we went to Galaxy's Edge, and the four of us do not like Diet Coke, but we had to get the special Star Wars themed Diet Coke thing. And so there's something about the location and who you're with that I think does impact some of our food choices.
Did they have blue milk at the Star Wars?
They did.
All right.
I did not get to have it. Instead, I got the Bloody Rancor, which was really good.
See, that's a good example of like naming. Was it like a Bloody Mary?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was exactly a Bloody Mary.
I've never seen the opposite end of this for the other conversation. Like, you're saying you got the Star Wars Diet Coke because it was Star Wars, had to get it.
Yes.
I have never seen, like, the Shabbat Diet Coke. Like,
Yes, Passover with the yellow cap.
what? Oh, the kosher for Passover?
Yeah, kosher for
Does that-
Passover soda has a yellow cap.
And it's annual. It's like the McRib.
It is like the McRib. It comes out once a year.
Yeah.
A McRib not kosher, but yellow-capped Coca-Cola products are kosher for Passover.
I would. Well, no. You know what? As a kid, I liked McRib. I don't like it anymore. And I was going to say they should come out with a kosher for Passover McRib. And I withdraw that statement. Yeah.
Hard disagree.
Would you consider like matzah pizza?
As the
Okay.
Jewish side.
Wait a
Yeah,
second,
on the Jewish
wait a
side.
second. Let's not hate on matzah pizza. Let's hate on just melting cheese onto a piece of cardboard. to do matzah pizza right, you have to make matzah brie first, but make it savory with like salt, pepper, and garlic instead of sugar and cinnamon. And you make it like a big pancake, and then you cook it halfway, flip it over, then put the cheese and sauce and stuff on it, and then put that under a broiler, slice it up like pizza. You're welcome.
This sounds like this episode is one of those cookbooks where you have to listen to the rest of the stuff to get to this matzah pizza recipe.
Yes. Yeah. Recipe in the show notes.
Yes. The other nerdy foods I had listed were game night snacks and convention snacks.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the only things we didn't talk about. And I think there's certain foods I prefer for game nights, of like finger foods that aren't, stuffed Doritos on your fingers kind of things.
That aren't going to get on your playing
Yeah.
cards.
Yeah.
My children eat Cheetos and Doritos with chopsticks.
Oh, that's great. But do they do that during the Passover Seder when you don't want all the stuff on your...
You can't have Doritos at a Passover.
No, I
Seder.
know, but I'm talking about getting stuff on, like... Yeah, never mind. It doesn't work. I'm trying to think
Well,
of
you're
the
dipping.
Jewish
We're dipping
comparison
on
for using
Passover.
game night chopsticks for Jews.
Well, also, if you don't
What a weird
have
sentence.
wine stains and food gunk on your Haggadah, then
Right, you're doing it wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear that. Absolutely. All right. Let's move.
What's a Haggadah?
It's a song in Haggadah Davida.
I'm going to move on to the next one. So the next item I have here is small gatherings, right? So Jews have minyan, right? That's like the minimum requirement. Do nerds have a minyan equivalent?
You need a certain number of people to play a lot of games like Dungeons and Dragons. If you play it with fewer than 4 people, it's rough.
That's so interesting. I took the immediate opposite approach, and I was like, there's so many single-player games you can play now. There's so many, like, one-person board games and card games you can do. So my answer was no. It doesn't feel like there's a minimum number needed.
So then let's challenge that. Do Jews have a... Like, I said minyan for small gatherings, but I guess Jews can pray on their own.
You
And
can
eat
pray
on the road.
your own, but there are certain prayers you can't do on your own.
Oh, okay.
And
So just like certain games you can't play on your own.
correct.
Yeah.
And there are certain requirements for, like, if you have 3 people, you can do Birkat Hamazon, which is the blessing after a meal.
Mm-hmm.
But if
Is there a 2-player version?
yeah,
Oh, there.
yeah, it's just it's the blessing that ends Hazan et Hakol, like that.
Nice.
You just say the one line.
Awesome. Havdalah duel.
Havdalah duel.
Yeah.
And if you are with 10 or more, then you do all of Birkat Hamazon. They're extra bits. But if you are
The expansion pack.
if there are 3 to 9 people, you do the basics of Birkat Hamazon.
That's great. I had no idea.
Yeah. And a minyan means quorum, and you need 10 people to form a minyan, and there are certain prayers that you can only do if there are 10 people present, including Kaddish, which is one of the things we say in memory of our loved ones who've died. And so like, how perfect is that you need 10 people? Because most of the time when you go to a service, you're one of the people supporting the people who've lost loved ones when we're saying Kaddish. But when you need someone around you, when you miss someone who's died, you want to not be alone. And so to have that automatic part of it, I think is really a beautiful thing.
You're touching on one of the topics I had for later, so I'm happy to jump.
I'll say it again.
Great. No, I'll just do it now. I will also say I often record looking straight ahead. My neck is so in such pain, just turned left this whole time so I can see you guys, because it's really weird to get their reactions facing this way. You guys are beautiful people. I just can't read the table. That's going to really even this out. I appreciate this.
Yeah. I'm here to help.
For the listeners, how do I move from my left to my right? And it is Very nice.
But now I'm going to bump your elbow because
Yeah,
I'm
that's
left-handed.
This was a visual joke in an audio medium.
Yeah.
It's okay. I have a face for radio.
So in terms of coming together for support, you mentioned the Jewish side of it, and I thoroughly appreciate the rules and the outlines and the guides for when you're in Shiva and in mourning for supporting others in our community. Before I read what I have, do you guys have thoughts on the support side on the nerd category?
Well, there's a very literal interpretation. You know, certain games you play, there's a support character whose attributes, whose role in the game is to provide indirect support in terms of yes,
Right, every party needs a healer, right?
in terms of like, let me buff my allies, let me debuff my opponents, let me heal the people I'm playing with, or like play this card that'll let my ally draw 4 cards on their next turn.
Yeah. I like that. That's nice. I have also found that the board game community is filled with absolutely the nicest people. I have a group of nerd dad friends, and they are so willing to drop everything to help each other. It's really wonderful. But I took my son to his first board game convention a few weeks ago, and it was just the two of us playing games during the day, and somebody that I'd seen before had come over and said, hey, looks like he's really enjoying some games. They're doing a tournament for Boop. Boop, if you haven't played it, is this, I'll call it cat chess mixed with tic-tac-toe. It's a great game. You should try it. Anyway, and they said they have a Boop tournament, and they don't have enough people, and my son loves Boop. And so we joined. But the fact that they came over and recognized that like we would want to join that, like as me and my son, was wonderful. They're just really nice.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I and a friend went to a tournament for a Star Wars tabletop game, and it was a fundraiser where all the proceeds were donated to a organization dedicated to fighting and curing cancer. And we were not professionals in the slightest. And they're professionals, like really like legit players who went to like nationals and worlds competitions. And it didn't matter what your experience level was. Like I was welcomed with open arms, and I didn't win a single game until I was in like the lower bracket of this tournament. But everyone's like, all right, yay, we're so glad you're here. Let's play some X-Wing. It's going to be great. And I felt so welcomed.
I hate to tell you.
Star Wars reference in there.
No, that was the game.
I know, I believe.
Well, I would say if you have your live show bingo cards, you can check off Ethan has referenced something Star Wars now.
Yeah.
So
Trek is next.
I feel like the bingo is actually Star Trek, but we'll get there.
okay.
I think this. I'm going to take a little bit of a serious turn for a second here.
Wait, before you do, hold on. I just want to
on
also
topic.
I know, but I want to add to his thing real quick. He said that they were so excited for you to join, even though you weren't professional. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you were absolutely there so they can just work their way up the ladder. And you were just an easy stepping stone for them to get closer to winning.
I hear what you're saying, and also I was very quickly down in the lower brackets, so it was.
So the players who usually end up bottom were so excited to see you.
You were fodder.
Right.
I was flying a bunch of TIE fighters, so that does track.
I think to take a little bit of a serious turn on the topic of nerds supporting other nerds, I think it kind of comes with the territory, because as kids, being not cool and not always having all the social graces that the cool kids had, it made elementary school and high school really hard for me. And I think that empathy for people who have been picked on, and to know that what it's like, what it feels like to have a negative social experience, makes us more inclined to provide a positive social experience for people that we're around. We like to make other people feel good because we know what it's like to make others have us feel the other way.
We always have choices. We're always presented with choices. And I'd like to think that nerds, when presented with that choice, choose to help others and not get into a position of power and then now it's my turn.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah.
And of course there are always outliers. There are always competitive,
The self-hating nerd.
self-hating nerds. Yeah. Well, like, today we were playing board games, as you mentioned, and it was the first game we played. I was out after 2 moves. I was just out of the game after 2 moves. And I had fun watching the two of you play. And neither one of you made me feel bad about losing. And then, also just sitting and watching and going, oh, okay. Meant the next time we played, all 3 of us did better.
And who won that game?
I did.
Yeah.
I won the second game. Not the point of the story, but I also won the third game. But it was just fun to play and to spend time with the two of you, and even if I wasn't actively in the game, I was really enjoying watching and chit-chatting and all the stuff that goes along with sitting at a table playing board games.
I think that's probably why the board game community is so supportive of each other, because the ones who really enjoy being in that space know that you're going to lose a lot.
Yeah.
Right. I'm in a master's program right now, and my current class is on data analysis and visualization. And one of the questions I am studying is, how often do I win or lose board games that I play? Is like the topic I'm studying for this Jewish master's program. And I win roughly 23% of the time. And I play a lot of board games. And that's not a high percentage, but I would dare to say that most people have a similar average. Right, the app that I have that tracks all the people I play with, the games that they play with me, it shows me their win average. And I think the highest person is probably 47% or something.
If you think that logically that most games are 4-player games, like if that's an average, then 25%, that's right on track.
Yeah. Yeah, my older son, I have 2 kids, one who's 4, one who's 6. The 6-year-old loves board games and is so good at winning and losing. And my 4-year-old, we are working on it. But my 6-year-old says to the 4-year-old, it's okay, you still had fun. Like, it's not about winning. Like, he'll teach the 4-year-old that playing a game isn't about winning. It's just about enjoying and having a good time. I love that in terms of supporting in the world, that you don't have to win. You should just enjoy life. It's not about winning at life. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do we still think nerds are in the minority?
Well, even in Austin.
I would say even if nerds aren't the minority, there's going to be another lower minority segment group that nerds should be able to support with that sort of mindset. Yeah.
Geeks.
Theater kids.
Yeah.
Dweebs.
I'm going to move on.
I was also a theater kid. Yeah.
So
I had a double whammy.
You have to support yourself there.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
All 3 of us were theater kids?
show choir.
I wasn't. I wanted to be, and I got so chickened out when I went for my first audition.
But you were in math club?
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
I don't... That's so funny.
I don't math, so I'm just jealous.
Yeah. All right, the next one I'm going to talk. Let's talk about getting together to expand our knowledge. Right? I think both Jews and nerds get together to expand their knowledge in different ways. Start with the Jewish side.
Torah study.
Right? Torah study. Absolutely.
Torah Smash, the podcast for nerdy Jews.
Good plug.
That's a great plug. They're already listening.
That was a meta plug.
Yeah. And that's a mixture. We're looking for the separation.
But I do mean it seriously and earnestly that, I learn things just about every recording that we do.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
So this could be Torah study. Torah Smash study.
I think it is.
Torah
Great.
study smash?
It's like a spider's man's problem.
Spiderman.
What other Shabbat services? I think I always like when I go to either Shabbat or high holiday services, there's something that I'm finding because my life has changed in the past year in some way. So learning something new when I go to services.
I mean, we say it in services in our morning prayers, Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, which means the study of Torah leads to all of the mitzvot. All of the things that we would do is from learning it.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and this is a little bit answering both the Jewish and the nerd side of it, but Barak's shaking his head.
I'm shaking my head. You're not following the assignment. It's okay.
Oh, no. We always follow the assignment in Torah Smash.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
One of the joys of Judaism is we reread the Torah every year. And one of the benefits of that is certain things resonate with us at certain times in our life. And I think it's true with the nerd side of it as well. Things that maybe didn't impact us as a kid now upon another rewatch impact us differently.
Sesame Street is like that. Watching Sesame Street as a kid and watching it as an adult are two totally different experiences. Because they put a lot of jokes in Sesame Street that go right over the kids' heads and nail the parents.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll even put Bluey in there when I'm babysitting.
The best show out today
is my favorite thing to watch with kids.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Okay, so we're veering away from Jewish.
Yeah,
this
what was the
there's
question?
A slow. No, it's okay. Getting together to expand our knowledge. So I'd say on the Jewish side, the only other thing I have listed was like community type programs. Right, when the synagogue or JCC or Federation has like a community program, there's often some aspect of learning that goes into that action.
Summer camp, perhaps.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, summer camp is the learning experience par excellence because you don't realize you're learning. That's the best kind of learning. And like, if it wasn't for summer camp, I would not be here. I don't mean alive. I mean, I wouldn't be a rabbi.
Survival skills.
I would learn how to
Jewish
survive.
survivor skills.
I went to a Jewish summer camp in Bennington, Indiana called Camp Livingston. Shout out to Camp Livingston, rah rah. And the camp director, when I was interviewing for my first counselor job, was talking to me about Israel. And I was like, I don't care about Israel. And he's like, yeah, but you know a lot about it. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, well, you can name 12 cities in Israel. I said, how can I do that? He said, name the cabins. They were all named after cities in Israel.
Very fun.
And he showed me a layout of the camp, and he showed me a layout of Israel, and it matched because there was a village, a collection of cabins called Jerusalem that was kind of in the center of camp. And then to the west of that was a cluster of villages, a cluster of cabins that we called Tel Aviv. And to the south of that was a cluster of cabins that we called Haifa.
That's so cool. This is like going to the board game cafe and they named the foods other like fun nerdy stuff.
Exactly.
That's I love that.
Yeah, we just knew and all of these things that I knew about from stealth learning at camp.
That's fun. How do nerds expand their knowledge?
Wikipedia. Reading the manual.
Yeah, the instruction manual.
Reading the instruction manual, watching the YouTube tutorial when the manual is confusing, then watching the other YouTube tutorial that's linked in the comments that's actually better than that other tutorial, and then you see the suggestions on the side, and then you realize it's 3.5 hours later.
Right, and you still haven't put the thing together.
And you still don't know how to do that one thing, but you learned everything else.
Yeah, I like that.
Having a Barak is good, too, because he's a good explainer.
I don't understand.
When we played the game we played today, Cosmoctopus.
Yeah, Cosmoctopus.
That Barak had played before and we had not. He did a very good job explaining.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He explained it so well that RDY won.
Yeah. I see what you do. Bringing it up again.
Did we mention? I liked it so much I bought it.
It's true.
Anybody want to play?
It looks like you have a temple program coming up.
Here we go. Next $10.
Yeah. I have going to comic book shops. Right, so you're expanding your nerdy knowledge,
yeah.
Right? Collecting that issue that you haven't read but explains the thing of the background character.
Explains the thing, like of the Fantastic Four?
Yeah, it could.
That joke really landed.
That did not land.
Was that your way? I feel like you're putting in things that you just want to talk about. Do you want to talk about the thing now?
I always want to talk about the thing.
I'm very excited for the Fantastic Four movie.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Jewish representation.
Yeah. The Thing is a Jewish character. Not just Jewish based like Superman, but actually in the comic books he is Jewish. He got married under a chuppah, broke the glass. Very easy when you're made of rocks to break a glass. There are lots of Jewish comic book characters, but the Thing was the one who first came out as Jewish. It was suspected because of the way he talks and some of the references he would make, and there have been episodes where he's encountered golems and things, and so he's modeled after Jewish lore. And in a comic book that I gave to Barak years and years ago, he says Shema. While an old man is lying on the street and he doesn't want to crush him with CPR. So he prays.
Do you still have those? So this was one of the reasons that I invited RDY to be on the podcast, which I think I've talked about before. but for our live audience may not know it, is that RDY, do you still keep those?
I do. I have 9.
He has multiple copies of the issue of the Fantastic Four where the thing says the Shema, and he'll give them to congregants, participants, etc., when he discovers that they are trying to explore Judaism in new ways. And this is one of those places where you can discover that it's not just in the prayer book on Friday nights, that it is out in the world out there. And so he had given to me, we had met once, maybe twice before. When I met him again in California, he said, come to my office, I have something to give you. And he gave me one of those copies. And so now every year when I go to New York Comic Con, me and my friends have a mini side quest where we will go to every single comic book stand and ask if they have that issue so that I can mail them back to RDY so he has more issues in his office for this.
Yep. And I gave one to Isaac Brinjigar-Bialik, who was one of our co-hosts, and he is an artist who cuts up comic books and makes paper cuttings. And he and his wife, Rabbi Shana Brinjigar-Bialik, are going to be here at CBI in the first weekend of May doing a Havdalah program much like this. But I gave him one of those comic books as well, and he's touching it. He hasn't taken it out of my hand. He's touching it, and he looks at me and he goes, "You know I'm going to cut this up, right?"
Good. I also have going to a panel at a convention.
Who would go to a panel?
I don't go to panels either. It's not that it's a waste of time. I haven't. I just haven't found one that I want to spend an hour waiting in line and then an hour and a half sitting.
Yeah, who would go to something just to listen to people talk?
Nerds.
Nerd. Cool. That's a good way to end that section. Dissing the people who came
Thanks
to our
for being
live
here
show
tonight, everybody.
That's great, yeah. So let's move on. So the next thing I have is when you're in a setting and somebody says, "You're Jewish? Do you know Max
Peter
Heimowitz?" Right? I think similarly, I've had this happen where I'm local and somebody says, "Wait, you're like super nerdy? Do you know blank?" Have you guys ever had that? Will they say, "You're nerdy, do you know this person?"
Usually it's "You're Jewish. Shalom."
Because of Austin?
No, in general.
I don't think I've ever had that response.
Oh, I've had it all the time. Wild.
What a weird response.
It's a really weird response.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. Show of hands. How many people, when you say, "Oh, I'm Jewish," and they go, "You're Jewish? Shalom." 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right.
Do you speak Jewish?
Yeah.
Do you
speak Jewish? Yeah.
I will say, in their defense, they probably are not doing it because of this, but the word Yiddish in Yiddish means Jewish.
You think they speak Yiddish? You think? My freshman roommate, when he found out I was Jewish, he asked, "So does that mean you celebrate the holiday yarmulke?" So close. It's so close.
It is so close. That's
He
not fair.
tried.
He did.
That's not fair.
You know, I can't say I've ever had someone be like, "Oh, you're nerdy. Do you know like X person?"
That's how I met my current best friend. In synagogue, they found out that we were both podcasters. I will huddle this together. Granted, his is I don't want to say more popular, but they fill large arenas. And so they said, "Oh, do you know Barak? He has a podcast." This is great. This is like 50-something people in this room, which is nice. It's just not the same numbers.
Probably more people than listen to many of our episodes.
You have to stop putting us down. I've told you.
Our
the self-hating nerd.
dozens of listeners love us.
I'm the self-hating nerd.
So I had that. That's how I met him. Is they put us together on different. And luckily, we were both super nerdy. But have you? So neither of you have had the "You're nerdy. Do you know this local person?"
No, not nerdy. No.
Yeah, I've had it. I can't think.
You
of
sound
any
upset by
specific
that.
Examples. I'm not disappointed. I'm disappointed in that I don't remember any specific examples.
okay.
But the way you're saying it rings familiar. Or it's usually more like, "Oh, you really need to meet
Sure.
Ezra," or who You're welcome. Who's here in the audience?
Ezra Bridger's here in the audience.
Ezra Bridger is here in the audience. That's what his name tag says.
That's very fun.
That's amazing.
Now I threw that out for Ethan's
We
sake.
love that.
I love that. Ezra Bridger from Star Wars.
Thank you. You can check the other box in your bingo card now.
I mean, I have gotten Jewish geography so many times.
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole game about it.
Do you have? I guess maybe the nerdy is too broad. I'd say more frequently. Like there's a local board game group that I attend every other week. in Montclair, and in Montclair, New Jersey, not Montclair, Texas. Is that a Montclair? We got a local.
We got one.
Wow, I wasn't the only one that flew out for this show. That's great. And so if I'm local and somebody finds out I like board games and they know somebody who goes to the board game group, then they will say, "Oh, do you know this person?" They go to the board game group. Do you guys ever have, like, when you say you like Star Wars, Ethan, does somebody say, "Star Wars, do you like this person?"
Do you mean like a character?
No,
in
a
Star
real
Wars,
person.
or, not really. I
Okay.
mean, I imagine if I said I really like Harry Potter,
Yeah.
someone might ask me, "Oh, do you like J.K. Rowling?"
Do you know J.K. Rowling?
Not personally.
Yeah, I don't think. I feel like this one didn't land the same way as the other questions.
That's also a political question. Do you like J.K. Rowling? Because of her difficulties, her views, and her
We talked about that on another episode with our guest,
Rachel Frisch.
Rachel Frisch.
Yay.
Yeah. That was a while ago. That was back in, oh my gosh, episode 33. That was a while ago.
Way
So,
back in
Barak,
history.
Yes.
while we're
speaking
here,
of
and we are about to
episode
bingo
numbers.
card. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
When this episode comes out in April, what number episode is this?
This will be episode 79.
And how many episodes of the original Star Trek series were there?
Oh, wait, hold on. Let's ask if anybody in the audience knows this.
It is 79.
79.
We are about to surpass the original Star Trek, meaning we are about to be canceled, and years from now, we're going to come
Revival.
back even more popular.
Torah Smash, The Next Generation.
I will be played
Our kids will be doing a podcast.
to be played by a bald British actor, Shakespearean trained.
I
That's
can
one.
shave my head.
Would
But
you?
I'm not British.
Would you do that for the sequel?
I would.
All right, so let's move on to the next one. The next topic I have here to us to compare between nerds and Jews is arguing.
We don't argue.
Oh, yeah, like we would ever argue.
You
Or
could
be
take some time to
sarcastic.
think about it if you want.
No.
So I have a few things for nerds,
No, you don't.
and then for Jews I wrote too many to list.
There is a really interesting concept that I love in the Talmud, and we're actually going to do a class on this as well next month here
What's
at
the Talmud?
CBI. The Talmud, thank you. The Talmud is a 36-tome corpus of Jewish law. And I am actually participating in a program where we read 1 page a day, and it will take us 7.5 years to finish the Talmud. So it's a legal treatise on Judaism. And
That's like how long it takes to read the original Lord of the Rings.
exactly,
Yeah.
1 page a day.
Yeah, yeah.
And there is a concept called machloket, which means argument. And there are 2 kinds of argument. There is machlochet b'shem shamayim and machlochet shelo b'shem shamayim, which means an argument for the sake of heaven and an argument not for the sake of heaven. They're so clever. And the way they distinguish the two is that an argument that is not for the sake of heaven is to, like, prove yourself right, prove the other person wrong, to, like, win or get something from it. But an argument that is for the sake of heaven is to learn from each other and to hear the other person's point of view and come out on the other end with more understanding. And so, yes, and I think the fact that we need to make rules about which is which shows that people do it the not for heaven way more often on their own.
I mean, I think arguing is core to both sides, both, core to Judaism, core to nerd culture. I mean, one of my, favorite things about commentary in Judaism is you have responses from rabbis and then responses to that rabbi, then responses to the responses. It's core to what we believe as Jews. And I think when we think about nerd culture as well, there's always different ways to pull things apart, to analyze them, to put them back together. Either what was Data thinking? Did he really pull the trigger in that one episode of Next Generation? Was it really an accident? Did he have emotions?
Did Han shoot first or did Greedo shoot
Did
first?
Han shoot first? Or even ranking things like, well, no one would ever dare to rank their favorite Star Wars movies in order. That was a joke.
Yeah, right?
I'm realizing the pages of Talmud with all the stuff around it, I think is the modern equivalent of that would be a Reddit thread.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I think it's the same. Right. Granted, not all of them are as scholarly as those that are included in the Talmud, but helpful.
There's a Simpsons episode called My Father the Clown. It's from season 3. And Lisa Simpson tries to convince Krusty the Clown's father, Rabbi Christofferson, that he needs to reconcile with his son because they've parted ways because a clown is considered by Rabbi Christofferson to be a less than form of employment, yada, yada. So Lisa goes to him in various places, goes to Rabbi Christofferson in various places to say, well, didn't Rabbi Meir say this? And didn't Rabbi Hillel say this? And she finally wins him over by quoting Sammy Davis Jr.
I think something else that's been sitting with me is, the arguments with good intention. And I think in both Judaism and in nerd culture, it's easy to fall into the trap of arguing because you think someone is wrong. I mean, I think you go on to any online comment thread on YouTube, Reddit, whatever forum you're on about something on nerd culture, there's someone who will disagree with you for the sake of just wanting to disagree. Mm-hmm. And I think also in Judaism, we live in a very hyper politicized moment. And I think it'd be fair to say that there are pressures on the Jewish community right now that feel very, very intense.
I think it's all communities right now that our tendency to argue tends to supersede other things, the assumptions we make, the biases that we have. I read a book a few years ago called Think Again by Dr. Adam Grant, where he talks about the 4 ways that people argue, like the 4 personalities when you argue. You can be...
Are these the Passover people?
The four children at the Passover table, yeah. Which is another good parallel to it, but backwards. He talks about preachers, politicians, prosecutors, and scientists, and how you need to... a preacher is trying to convince you that, why you need to follow their way. A prosecutor is arguing with you for why you need to believe them. A politician is trying to convince you of a certain way so that they can win you over. But a scientist asks questions and seeks to gain information. And so we need to strive to be scientists in our arguments, which is another way to say machlochet b'shem shamayim.
Do you guys have any favorite arguments for both in the Jewish setting or in the nerd setting?
My favorite argument in the nerd setting is Monty Python's argument sketch.
Oh, not even like a debate question, just the sketch.
No. It is brilliant. And it's a brilliant example of theatrical improv because it's how it started. That they are agreeing about a disagreement is just brilliant. It's awesome.
There's a very popular nerd argument that is so popular. One of my friends was applying for an educator job at a synagogue, and they ended the interview by asking her, do you prefer Kirk or Picard? And she answered, the best I can do is tell you that that's a Star Trek question. And she didn't have an answer. It was interesting. They were asking to discover what type of leader she was based on who they'd which I think there's a problem with the premise because the correct answer is Janeway, which wasn't an option, which tells me something about the president. Yeah.
She could have also said, that question sounds like a Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah.
Oh, Ethan, don't talk about Star Trek too much.
Yeah, nobody had Barak talking Star Trek on his bingo card.
Definitely not RDY knowing what a Kobayashi Maru is.
Yeah. It's only because Ethan has mentioned it, I want to say, a dozen times today. For whatever, the Kobayashi... Did you just spit up your water? Okay.
Really close.
Yeah. Are there other favorite arguments in either Jewish culture or nerd culture?
I mean, I love just like the random things that pop on up. Like when we're talking about like even, keeping kosher, kashrut, and, what is keeping kosher for the sake of tradition? What is keeping kosher for the sake of what is written in the Torah? Yeah. Tradition versus modernity is such a very interesting thing. And I think, we are here recording in a Reform congregation. And so, what does what does that mean for us, all of us in the audience here, all of us up over here? It means we have a particular interpretation of Judaism that is different from conservative or Orthodox or Reconstruction. And there's kind of an implicit different interpretation on certain things there. And I think I'm just reinforcing your point that it's core to everything in Judaism. Nerd culture, I can argue with anyone about anything with Star Trek, and I will do it.
I want to thank you, Ethan, for giving just generic answers for both of these questions.
Yeah, that's what I do. I can anything with Star Trek. I'd love to talk to you about from a place of love because I love Star Trek. There's so much of it to argue about.
We're so opinionated too as nerds.
No, we're not,
and as people.
Yes, we are.
And this is not an argument. This is just contradiction.
Okay.
And that's.
Is that the Jewish take?
Similar to the Monty Python sketch.
Oh, okay.
In the Jewish world, Hillel and Shammai, classic arguers.
I love the Hanukkah candle argument.
Right.
That's a favorite of mine.
To light up what Barak is talking about, the Hillel argument, Shammai says we should light all 8 candles the first night and reduce them 1 candle a night. And Hillel says we should add 1 candle a night starting with 1. Now, those of us who live in the modern world know who won.
Well, I want to add their explanation. I think is fascinating. Right. The going from 8 to 1 is to help better represent the oil must have been more and then less and less as it went on. And the going from less to more is to brighten the joy as the days go forward. And there's more light by the end.
Actually,
yes.
Hillel's reason is we never decrease when celebrating a miracle.
Great.
So his argument
tomato
is
tomato
that tomato actually read the Talmud. Sorry.
It's okay. I just want the people at home to know that people in the audience aren't actually laughing at RDY. We just held up an applause sign.
Yeah, we never decrease when celebrating a miracle was what Hillel says.
Okay. Any other favorite nerdy arguments?
Anytime you talk about anything in nerd, I'll Dungeons and Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain kinds of players in Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing games that are so bent on making things quote unquote right in the game that we call them rules lawyers. Whereas as someone who has DM'd, I never show my players.
For RDY sister Susan, being a DM is a dungeon master.
Thank you. And it's the person who controls the game. And just to be clear, dungeon masters are not gods. Gods are NPCs, they're characters. The DM controls them. So the
greater than gods.
Yeah. So these people who have to know exactly what's happening when, but at the same time, as a dungeon master, I will never show my players my roles because sometimes I fudge them for their benefit. Mm-hmm. And my apologies to my players. They listen to the podcast because I tell them they have to or I won't DM.
I just realized, as you were talking, I realized another argument-based nerd thing, and I would say house rules when you play board games.
Yeah, house rules.
We don't play that way. We never had IOUs in Monopoly.
Yeah.
Well, that's because they're not in the rule book.
Free parking.
Yeah.
Landing on free parking.
Yeah.
And you get what's in the middle. That is a house rule. That is not a rule of the game.
I want to apologize to my board game listeners because Monopoly is a terrible game, and we're talking about it. There's so much better stuff out there now.
It doesn't make it a terrible game just because there's better stuff.
There wasn't enough good stuff back then. I think it's gotten better.
When we went to Emerald
I'm
Tavern...
so sorry for the Monopoly
When
fans.
we went to Emerald Tavern, we definitely okay, let's grab Monopoly. It's going to be such a riveting hours of play.
I will say, Pokemon Monopoly is a really nice version. If you want a different Monopoly game, Pokemon Monopoly changes the mechanics. Really nice.
I was really disappointed that the Muppets edition was not called Monopoly.
Is there a Muppets Monopoly?
Of course.
I can't believe they missed that opportunity.
I feel like the last 4 minutes is all getting cut out.
Why?
I think of other nerd arguments. I got an assist from the audience. We've had a few actors now who've played Spider-Man, or as I refer to them collectively, Spiders-Man.
Mm-hmm. Is that grammatically correct?
Attorneys General.
Is there a hyphen there?
Spiders Man?
In Hebrew, that would be called smichut, where you pluralize the first part of a two-word phrase. It tracks. I'm on your side.
Okay.
Rabbi said it. You heard it.
Yep. The Peters Parker.
There's the. I will stake a claim.
Stars
you will
Trek.
You will still. Stars Trek.
I win.
That sounds like that sounds like when you get the actors in a room together and it's like a reality show. It's Stars Trek.
Sure.
It's a survivalist show.
I feel like Stars Trek is a better description of what they do in Star Trek. Like they are trekking the stars. And not one star.
That's right.
true.
It shouldn't be called Star Trek.
Right? Any show on Earth would be a Star Trek. Like The Survivor would be Star Trek because there's one star in our system.
But Star
they're
Wars, the
trekking.
wars are plural. There's multiple wars. So
Correct.
does that work?
But
It'd be
more than one
Stars
star.
Wars
Stars
because there's
Wars.
multiple stars in that system.
Wow.
Thank you all for showing up for this
I know.
conversation.
This is amazing.
I will stake a claim and you'll still say
Stakes claims.
you'll still say it's too broad.
Yeah.
But the enduring debate of Star Trek versus Star Wars.
Yeah. As an argument. Oh, a popular
As
argument.
an argument, yeah. As an argument.
I was so solid. I will give you my take on this. Is that as a kid,
We're
I
about to make and lose some friends.
I don't know. I think maybe. As a kid, my household was one of those typical households where I wasn't allowed to touch the remote, right? As a kid, Dad controlled the remote, and he only kept it on Comedy Central or Sci-Fi. It was it. I couldn't change it. And so I grew up in a Trekkie household. Sci-Fi showed all the Star Trek reruns. And so I grew up watching all of those shows. And so as a child, there were only 3 Star Wars movies and hours of Star Trek content. And I was like, well, Star Wars nerds are just not committed nerds because they just have to watch 3 movies. But a Star Trek fan...
over and over and over again.
Over and over. But a Star Trek fan had to watch hours of episodes and a bunch of movies. By the time- What?
Got to watch hours of episodes.
Thanks. Got to watch hours of episodes and movies in order to be a Star Trek fan. So as a kid, I thought Star Trek fans were just better, which was true.
okay.
And now, it's so even because there's so much content in both avenues that I haven't calculated yet. I should do. Hey, listeners, if you have done the analysis of how many more hours there are of Star Trek content versus
it's Star
Star
Trek.
Wars,
It's Star Trek.
It's still Star Trek.
It will always
all
be
the spin-offs, all of the cartoon shows. Star Wars has a bunch of cartoon shows that I haven't watched, but Star Trek is none.
Before Star Wars even got to start doing TV shows, Star Trek had banked 5 live-action series. There is literally no way Star Wars will ever catch them.
I feel like they're catching up now.
No, absolutely not. And shocking
Star
no one.
Trek cartoons?
Yes.
That was an actual question.
Lower
I just
Decks
didn't know.
and Prodigy.
Now,
I
now
thought
there
Lower
are.
Decks was a reality show watching people on a yacht.
Yeah, that's a singular deck.
Below deck.
Star
Below-
Trek is
below's-
lowers
below's
deck.
They're asking whether Star Wars or Star Trek is better is also like, is sci-fi or fantasy better?
Yeah.
Like Star Trek
Neither of
is
them are
sci-fi.
fantasy.
Star Wars is fantasy.
Oh, Star Wars is fantasy. I'm sorry.
Star Wars is fantasy. Star Trek is science fiction.
I would, when people ask me, okay, Ethan, Star Trek or Star Wars, I give 2 answers. The first answer I give is what really depends on what you're looking for. Like, what are you actually interested in? What are you looking for? And then my second answer is Star Trek. but for similar reasons to Barak, it is fundamental to who I am. When people ask me, when people are like, Ethan, why are you the way that you are? I'm like, well, I was raised by 2 liberal Jewish college professors and a lot of Star Trek. And then they go, oh yeah, that explains you.
That treks. Also, DC versus Marvel.
Oh, that's a good one.
A lot of like which
A lot of people get that question wrong.
That's true because it's the Tick.
I
got one guy in the back is like.
Is Tick one of those that is like subconsciously one of those properties, or is he not included with either of them?
No, he's from Dark Horse Comics.
Oh, okay. Because I had a conversation the other day informing people that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is secretly a Marvel property.
Well, because it takes place in New York.
No, You don't know this?
No.
Oh, do you guys? Well, this is not in a well, actually. I don't have to push my glasses up. So, for those that don't know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the creators based it off of the Daredevil comic. So, the ooze that infects the turtles is actually the ooze that blinds Matthew Murdock. And a bunch of the pieces, right? The Daredevil faces the hand, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles faces the foot. The person who trained Daredevil was Stick. The person who trained the Turtles, Splinter. Right? There's a lot of that overlap, and it's because they were making fun of Daredevil when they didn't know it was going to be such a huge property.
Can we call maintenance? I just blew my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun thing. But so that's one of those secret Marvel properties that isn't actually a Marvel property.
That's brilliant. I love it.
It's a great thing.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is also a role-playing game that I played as a kid, so it's
fun.
like we're getting into all kinds of crossover worlds.
I like this argument section. Any other favorites?
Well, which role-playing game? Because there are people who are like, oh, D&D is lame, so Pathfinder is the way. It's the same game.
We're getting niche.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, cool.
Who's the best dungeon master?
RDY.
Well, after this year's episode, you're going to say Barak.
Right.
Yeah.
Or Andrew Trent. It depends. He's in the audience.
We're touching like little niches here and there, catching everybody in the audience today. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? We have a live audience. I'll take one hand. I'm going to take one hand. Favorite argument, either Jewish culture or nerd culture, that we have not yet mentioned. In the back.
Sub or dub?
Sub or dub?
Sub or dub?
Like the New Jersey, like a hoagie?
Different mediums that come from different countries.
Subtitles or dubbing?
Yes.
Got it.
Subtitles or
I got
dubbing.
it. Right. When you rhyme it, it makes it sound like it's automatically a correct answer. So sub and dub. I was like, oh, that's got to be a good thing.
Like
no, it is.
dubstep.
I watch subtitles and everything, though. But I prefer the subtitles. Yeah.
Who's your favorite Spider-Man and why are you wrong?
Who's your favorite Spider-Man, and what if it's the same one that it's your favorite?
I'll let it pass.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not answering that. She's scary.
All right. So let's end by asking, what's your favorite way to get together with either nerds or Jews?
Well, I think this particular crowd knows that every Friday night is my favorite day. I absolutely love Shabbat, and I think it's a great way to gather as community and be together and sing the songs that we love and sometimes eat the foods that we like and get that piece of challah and the sip of wine and then Saturday morning study together and then Saturday afternoon be by yourself. The Shabbat shluff, the nap, my favorite part. But that combination of being together as a community and celebrating something amazing that comes back every week, I love that.
That's great.
With laughter.
Again, you gave such a vague answer. Which group is that for?
Ethan.
Jews?
For both.
I know.
There is nothing greater in my mind than after you've had a really, really hard day at work and you get together with your coworkers and some kid said something or some counselor did something and you just burst out laughing together collectively as a group. It's those shared experiences in those environments that are irreplaceable. I mean, I typically have Saturday night game nights with my best friends, and it doesn't matter what we're doing, where we're doing it. I know I'm probably going to laugh, and it's going to make my week so much better.
Yeah. I have written down that I've become a fan of like the large conventions, Comic-Con, PAX Unplugged, but I also have a monthly game night also, and I so look forward to that every single time.
You didn't mention Juice.
I did not mention the Juice convention. Yeah, Juice, for those that don't know, was a sponsor for the podcast at one point, but it is a Jewish comic book convention that takes place in New York every year, and it's just Jewish comic book creators and with or creators that have Jewish content in their books, and it is just Jewish comics, and it is fantastic. And that is also a wonderful community to be a part of. And I'm so sorry that I insulted your answer before, because then I wrote here, but honestly, anything that involves laughter and food, and I'm there. So I apologize.
Well, you can refine it slightly. When you talked about big conventions, I realized for me, like, what's implicit in my answer is like it's smaller groups, smaller connections on a more individualized basis.
Yeah, agreed.
There was a group of people that we went to see almost every MCU movie with. Yeah. So going with the same group of people over the course of years and years, and when we went to see Endgame together, my children fought to sit next to me, even though we're with a group of friends. And I thought, oh, this is so sweet. But then I found out they had seen it already, and they had a bet for how many times I would cry.
Oh, that's fun.
How many times and who won?
They both lost because it was more.
Oh, it was Price is Right rules?
It was, oh my gosh. Yeah, well, I did start as the credits rolled. I got schmoopy when the credits rolled and they were showing the new pictures and the Marvel logo.
It opened and you started?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Stan Lee. I cried at Stan Lee.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I cried when
like all of the female superheroes were like, "We got you." I was like, so awesome. Yeah. There were, so many moments.
Yeah. I'll say that also, right, give me a space. We talked about this a little bit, but give me a space where everyone is welcome to join and be who they are, and that's where I want to be, whether it be Jews or nerds.
Welcome to CBI in Austin.
Yeah. Can I say, I haven't said this. I will say it's really nice to hear people laughing in person, because when we record on Zoom, there's no laughs. But that's probably because we're just not remotely funny. Yeah. So I will say it is so wonderful to be here in person with both of you. Yeah. And with you, wonderful Austinites. Is that the right word? Yeah, nice. This weekend was a blast, and getting to do a live show was so surreal. I'm really glad that we were finally able to do this. Being able to get together with each other, no matter if they're nerdy or Jewish or both, is just really wonderful. We ate, we schmoozed, we laughed, and pretty soon, as happens at the end of every gathering of Jews, we will take way too long saying goodbye to one another. Yeah. Do you guys have anything else you want to wrap up with? I love you both. Aww. And being in person. Wait, hold on. Let's get another aw nice and loud for the recording. I'm going to throw that in all over the podcast episode for no reason. When Barak, you came to Chicago and Ethan was not able to be there because of the storm, it was wonderful. And when I came... to not have Ethan there was so great. And when I came here and spent time with you, it was wonderful. And spending time with both of you is more than 3 times as wonderful. It's too much. It's too much wonderful. And we've gotten really close over this time. I mean, Ethan and I met each other through doing the podcast. Yeah. And to have you two in person and be able to like hug you and say hello and really catch up in ways that we don't always get to do when we're like turning the Zoom on and recording, has been, we would say in Hebrew, mechaya. There's no like one English word that does it, but it comes from the word chai, which means life, and it's such a good thing. Like it gives me life to be with you both. Very nice. I like that. When you pitched this to me, you said, was that a sports ball reference? It was. Okay. Oh, I don't know anything about that. Okay. So when you pitched the idea of Torah Smash, I mean, like literally 3 years ago, over 3 years ago now, when you said, "Hey, Ethan, I have this idea," you really presented it as, I really want it to be like the 3 of us are having a conversation, and the audience is a bonus. Hopefully, other people can get something out of it that they find meaningful. But really, the idea is like this is 3 people getting together, talking about nerdy Jewish things that they love and they themselves happen to find really interesting. And for me personally, like that's really been achieved. This has been an incredible, joyous experience for me. It has given me important, fun things to look forward to. I've learned things. This podcast has supported me through some really challenging times.
And also, I've now met people today who listened to the podcast, to these conversations.
Really
and it's
amazing.
incredible to hear that there are other people who have gotten something from it. And so I guess I'm on the microphone right now. You have to listen to me. But like, it's been an incredible experience, both for both of you, my co-hosts, and all of you who are out here physically and metaphorically in the audience right now. Like, we could have 0 listeners, or we could have 1,000 listeners, and it's just.
I don't think we'd have. If we had 0 listeners, I'd probably stop recording us.
Oh, okay. Well, thankfully, we're somewhere in between 0 and 1,000, which is really nice for us. But just that it's been a joy to be able to get and create and do this, and I hope it continues to be meaningful and at the very least, at least somewhat interesting for all of you in the audience listening.
Amen.
Yeah. I do want to give a huge thank you to Congregation Beth Israel for hosting us this evening. And specifically, I want to thank Sarah Jew for her work on the logistics and support leading up to and including today. And then also to Aaron Perchanek for his help with all the audio to make us sound good. And I'm saying make us sound good, but I haven't heard this yet. So that may be a... No, it's probably fine.
Wouldn't it be funny if he muted you right now?
It'd be great. It'd be so funny. I also want to give a big thank you to anyone who donated when they reserved their ticket. This was an event free of charge, asking for donations to help just support the cost of putting this program together. This podcast is just a really fun side project for each of us, and all the money is being used to just offset the cost for us being able to do this together. If you would like to donate or donate again, you can scan one of the QR codes you see around in the room, or you can go to torahsmash.com/donate if you are listening to help us keep going. I'd say keep the lights on, but we don't have a studio, but the metaphorical lights.
My screens project light on to me.
That's great. I'm not paying for your computer. And then,
On Hanukkah, does your screen get brighter or does it get darker?
depends if I plug it in or not. Yeah. And then similarly, we have a few signs up for our fun swag. Listeners, if you do not see the signs, you can just go to torahsmash.com to look at our swag and our Redbubble store. Feel free to get something that shows your Jewish nerdy pride when you're hanging out. But no, this has been great. Any other last minute thoughts before we wrap up?
No. Keep Austin weird.
Yeah. So that'll do it for this episode of Torah Smash. Our fiscal sponsor is Jewish Creativity International. Our theme music was created by Sean Fogel. You can check out Sean's bands and studio work at www.thesleepywest.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to rate and review us wherever you listen. It helps others find us and is an excellent way to support the podcast. We want to hear from you and continue today's nerdy discussion. Go to torahsmash.com to find where to connect with us online, purchase swag from our store, support us with a donation, find previous episodes, and more. And, this was my first time in Austin. I had no idea that everyone in the state was such a fan of shofar blowers. I keep seeing signs everywhere cheering for long horns. And that's a wrap. That's the episode,
Thank
everybody.
you, Austin.
Yeah. Ooh, hot mic. Similarly, as is with all live shows, we would kindly ask that you silence your cell phones, your communicators, your sonic screwdrivers, your red emergency phones with their direct line to the mayor, cancel all red alerts. Am I missing anything?
That was pretty good.
Auga.
Are you silencing anything else in the audience? Let us know.
What's the scream? The lambs.
Very nice. We have a question in the back.
Play it, Leo.
How long have you been doing this podcast?
How long have we been doing this podcast?
We are just
You're really
about-
trying to go slow as possible.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we discussed that we were going to repeat the questions.
Oh,
back.
that's
Yeah,
true.
how long
Thank
did
you.
we
That's
hear
a good
it?
point. Absolutely.
We actually are just about to hit our 3rd anniversary. And we celebrate our anniversaries by inviting back some of our guest hosts. Occasionally we have guest hosts. And we invite them back to play a Dungeons & Dragons one-shot with
A
us.
Jewish Dungeons and Dragons.
Jewish-themed Dungeons & Dragons.
Yeah.
And
This year will be based out of the children's book Herschel and the Hanukkah Goblins. Spoiler.
I know, right?
Y'all ready? Yeah, there we go. My own hype man.